Hello everyone, and welcome to my first bookshelf tour. I would just like to note that these are all unread books, so if you see one that you recommend I read, please leave a comment. Thanks! So starting with my first shelf, 1984 by George Orwell, Everlost, Everwild, and Everfound, all by Neal Shusterman, Unwind, Unholy, and Unsold, also all by Neal Shusterman. And I hear there's one more book in this series. And also I have The Eyes of Kid Midas, also by Neal Shusterman. Serafina by Rachel Hartman, and this book is so pretty. Rainbow! Blood Red Road, and the sequel Rebel Heart, both by Moira Young. Poison Study, and Magic Study, both by Maria V. Snyder. The Knife of Never Letting Go, and Monsters of Men, both by Patrick Ness. I don't have the middle book in this series, unfortunately. Sweet Evil by Wendy Higgins, and actually, my book is signed by the author, which is really cool. Grave Mercy by Robin Lefevers. Origin by Jessica, I can't pronounce that last name. The Replacement, and The Space Between, both by Brenna Yovanov. Where Things Come Back by John Corey Whaley. And then moving down to my second shelf, first off we have, over here, The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, and I'm kind of worried about reading this because I heard you either love it or you absolutely hate it. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, The Girl Who Played with Fire, and The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest, all by Stieg Larsson. Then I have The White Queen, The Red Queen, and The Lady of the Rivers, and these are the first three books in the, I think it's called The Cousins' War. I think there's 5 books. The House of the Scorpion by Nancy Farmer. Elsewhere by Gabrielle Zevin. Sense and Sensibility and Sea Monsters, and I'd just like to say I'm really excited to read this because Sense and Sensibility is my favorite Jane Austen book. Eon, and the sequel Iona, both by Alison Goodman. Watership Down by Richard Adams, and I'm really excited to read this. Who doesn't love a good dystopian about bunnies, right? Am I right? Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Uglies, Pretties, and Specials, all by Scott Westerfeld. And then below that, on this shelf, starting over here, I have The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman, which I hear this is basically the Jungle Book in a graveyard, so I'm kind of looking forward to this. American Gods, also by Neil Gaiman. Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. Anne Frank's Diary, The Diary of a Young Girl. I know, I haven't read this yet. I am a disgrace. A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I know, another absolute disgrace. The Heart is a Lonely Hunter by Carson McCullers. The Adoration of Jenna Fox. Room by Emma Donoghue. Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. The Color Purple by Alice Walker. True Grit by Charles Portis. And a really antique version of The Scarlet Letter. Look how old this is. Teardrop by Lauren Kate. Eve, and Once by Anna Carey. Incarceron by Catherine Fisher. I have the sequel, but I don't know where it is. Cinder and Scarlet, both by Marissa Meyer. And then I have 3 Toni Morrison books. Sula, Beloved, and Home. Then I have The Weird Sisters by Eleanor Brown. Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. The Immortal Rules, and The Eternity Cure, both by Julie Kagawa, and I'm a huge Julie Kagawa fan, so I'm really looking forward to this series, but I haven't started reading it because the 3rd book hasn't come out in paperback yet, and I can't have them unmatching. Then I have Shatter Me and Unravel Me, both by Tahara Mafi, and I have the same problem with this series. Also, Under the Never Sky as well as Through the Evernight. All of 3 of these series, the 3rd book in the series hasn't come out in paperback, so that's the only reason why I haven't started them, but I'm really excited to start them whenever the 3rd book comes out in paperback. And then over here I have my Rick Riordan collection. I have The Red Pyramid, Throne of Fire, and The Serpent Shadow, and I believe this is called The Kane Chronicles. Then I have The Lost Hero, The Son of Neptune, and The Mark of Athena, as well as The House of Hades. And my edition is kind of cool. It has stickers! Yay! Be jealous! And then in the cupboard below all of that, I have The Demon King and The Exiled Queen, both by Cinda Williams Chima, I believe is how you pronounce it. I'm so sorry, I'm bad at pronouncing last names. Gone by Michael Grant. Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. Tiger's Curse by Colleen, oh my gosh, I can't pronounce these last names. Defiance by C.J. Redwine. Never Fade by Alexandra Bracken, and the only reason I have this is because I found it really cheap at a used bookstore, and I really need to read the others in this series. Then I have the last 3 books in the Vampire Academy series. I'm currently reading Frostbite. So I have Blood Promise, Spirit Bound, and The Last Sacrifice, all by Rochelle Mead. Then I have Falling Kingdoms and Rebel Spring by Morgan Rhodes, and I'm just in a fantasy kick right now. I'm reading A Clash of Kings, and I'm really looking forward to reading this series. Then I have Bright Young Things by Anna Goberson, and I read her Lux series and absolutely fell in love with her writing style, so really looking forward to this series. Next I have Days of Blood and Starlight, and unfortunately I can't find the Daughter and Smoke and Bone, I believe. I can't find it in hardback, so I haven't read this series yet. Then I have The Wizard Heir by Cinda Williams Chima, and Unearthly by Cynthia Hand, and even though I'm not big on angel books, I heard this series is really good, so I'll pick it up sometime, see how I think. Next I have Pure by Juliana Baggett, and this has a really creepy synopsis. Apparently, like, things morphed onto people's skin in like some weird apocalypse thing. It's gross. Behind all of that, I have picture books my grandma gave me, and they're just little stories with different themes like magic and adventure and etc. etc. And next I have my manga shelf, and I have a lot of Bleach. My brother has up to 5, I believe. And then I have Miracles by C.S. Lewis, and here are all my Bleach. I'm missing a few. Ranma 1.5 is next to that. Next I have The Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis, Shadow Kiss by Rochelle Mead, and The Lost Prince by Julie Kagawa. And then I have Gregor and the Code of Claw, which is the last book in the Gregor the Overlander series. Little Bee by Chris Cleve. Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov. Wow, I'm so sorry. Of Poseidon by Anna Banks. The Treachery of Beautiful Things by Ruth Francis Long. The Curse of the Wendigo and The Isle of Blood by Rick Yancey. I don't have the first in this series. Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Princess Academy by Shannon Hale, and the sequel to Princess Academy, Palace of Stone. Really looking forward to reading this. It looks really cute. And then I have The Ranger's Apprentice, Book 1, The Runes of Gorland by John Flanagan. And again, this looks really cool. I'm looking forward to reading this. Then I have The Princess and the Hound, and the sequel, The Princess and the Bear by Met Ivy Harrison, I think. Then I have The Fairies Queen and Other Princess Tales, as well as Ferris by Gail Carson Levine, who wrote Ella Enchanted. Then I have Graceline, and Fire, and Bitter Blue by Christian Cashore. Then I have Ruby Red and Sapphire Blue, both by Christian Gear, and I don't have the last in this series. Then I have this shelf with a lot of miscellaneous. I have Pride and Prejudice, the graphic novel, Is this not the coolest cover ever? It's like a tabloid for Pride and Prejudice. Then I have Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, the graphic novel. The Lightning Thief, the graphic novel. Vampire Academy, as well as Frostbite, the graphic novel. Coraline, the graphic novel. The King of Shadows by Susan Cooper. Mr. Popper's Penguins by Richard and Florence Atwater. Then I have more Sideways Arithmetic from Wayside School, and Wayside School Gets a Little Stranger by Louis Sachar. The Witches, Danny the Champion of the World, The Giraffe and the Pelly and Me, Fantastic Mr. Fox, George's Marvelous Medicine, The Magic Finger, SEO Trot, and Roald Dahl's Revolting Rhymes. Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nymph by Robert C. O'Brien. Then I have A Storm of Swords and A Feast for Crows by George R.R. Martin. Delirium, Pandemonium, and Requiem, all by Lauren Oliver. Next I have Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Septes, not to be confused with 50 Shades of Grey. Then I have two of my own books. This is what it looks like. Isn't it pretty? And the reason I have two is because I'm doing a Goodreads giveaway right now. Then I have The Hobbit, and I have like 50 bazillion copies of The Hobbit. Into the Wild by John something, and behind all of those books is my last shelf, and this is all once again dedicated to manga. Over here I have 11, 12, and 13 of Ouran High Schoolhouse Club. Then I have 7, 8, and 9 of Vampire Knight. Then I have the Death Note series and the Hanakimi series. I don't have very many of those. Then I have 1 through 6 of Bakuman, which was the writer of Death Note. And then I have my beloved Inuyasha.